This is Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
It's the Morning Majlis.
It's the Morning Majlis.
Talking the stories that are shaping headlines, plus those that make you go,
Hey everybody, good morning. Welcome back to the Morning Majlis, talking the stories that are shaping the headlines indeed. Hope everybody's having a fantastic morning, whether you're commuting to work or you're at work secretly listening to us. We've got a lot to talk about this morning. We're going to be talking about something that is unprecedented. The YouTube platform has banned, or at least suspended, a major news outlet, Sky News Australia. And it's got a lot of people talking, hey, is YouTube wielding too much power, steering the conversation with its algorithms? And do they have the right to ban such a major news outlet as Sky News on its platform? So we'll be talking about the reasons for this suspension, the surrounding commentary and analysis as well, plus Zoom making the headlines, settling for tens of millions of dollars following a class action lawsuit.
Can we get some of those?
I hope so.
I can.
Is there another class action lawsuit we could join?
Some cash. We can use some cash right now. We need to buy some Gucci's. We're affected by Gucci, by the House of Gucci.
Can't stop thinking about that now. Yeah,
trailer.
For sure.
The film. Well, we're going to talk about a lot of other things as well besides Zoom and Sky News. We're going to be talking about a first. The UAE is always known for being the first in doing a lot of things, right? So this is another first. It's a US-based technology company. It's basically sourcing water from the desert here in the UAE by extracting moisture from air using clean energy. It's going to be taking place at Abu Dhabi's Masdar city as part of the UAE's efforts to produce clean water in a more sustainable way. So it basically will produce commercial volumes of interrupted water supply using solar and thermal energy in a pilot project run by this company. And it's going to be in partnership with Masdar and the Khalifa University of Science and Technology. So we're going to talk about this project more and how is this so significant, and especially for the UAE being the first in the world to actually take part in this technology and this three-party research and development agreement project. So it's a big project that has taken place here, and it's a big deal for us here in the UAE. We're going to talk about that. And also we're going to talk about the situation in Iraq. It hasn't been the best of all situations as we're used to it. We know that Iraq is always in a sticky situation, especially with the COVID-19 or the coronavirus cases on the up. And basically there are no places for coronavirus patients in any hospitals, because the hospitals now, they're overwhelmed with the patients and their units are full. According to the Ministry of Health of Iraq, the oxygen suppliers, they cannot keep up with the current daily rate of coronavirus infections, sadly. So we're going to check in on Iraq, see what's happening there. And also it was reported an attack on a funeral procession in northern Iraq has claimed the number of lives actually a couple of days ago. And an Iraqi security official said that 13 people had been killed and 45 injured, among them police and civilians, and that armed militants had opened fire on the crowd. So we're going to just check in on Iraq in general, see what's happening there.
Yeah, concerning situation in Iraq indeed. And as always, if you'd like to join the discussion, even stop by and say hi to us this morning. Our text lines are always open on the show at 4215. We're also streaming live on the Pulse 95 YouTube channel. Just type Pulse 95 Radio on the search bar and hop on, because we've got a live chat on as well. Stay tuned to Pulse 95. Here's Owl City by Fireflies.
This is Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
It's the Morning Majlis.
It's the Morning Majlis.
Well, YouTube has barred Sky News Australia from uploading new content for a whole week. They're justifying this by saying that it had breached rules on spreading COVID-19 misinformation. Now, it issued a strike under its 3-strike policy, its last of which means permanent removal. YouTube did not point to specific items, but it said that it opposed material that could cause real-world harm, according to them. Now, the TV channel's digital editor said that the decision was a disturbing attack on the ability to think freely. And Sky News Australia is, what we know is that it's owned by a subsidiary of Rupert Murdoch's News Corp, and it has 1.85 million YouTube subscribers. Now, the ban could affect its revenue stream from Google as well. But a YouTube statement said that it had clear and established COVID-19 medical misinformation policies based on local and global health authority guidance.
Yeah, and there are many sides and aspects to this. Now, if the words Sky News are familiar to you, there's a distinction to be made in that Sky News Australia, which has been suspended by YouTube, differs greatly from Sky News in the United Kingdom. The Australian one is owned by Rupert Murdoch and has been controversial in some of the views that had been published on the YouTube platform in terms of the political stories and particularly the coverage of COVID-19 and some of the criticisms that were coming out of that channel in terms of opposition to mask guidelines, restrictions, lockdowns, and even vaccines as well. So there's a debate about, hey, okay, this is a media organization. Should YouTube exercise this much power steering the conversation? And should it apply its rules equally on all members? They said that Sky News Australia had gone through several strikes before the latest suspension. And it's sort of a mixed up response across the board. Some call this censorship. Others are saying, look, you're just dealing with conspiracy theorists and anti-vaxxers on your platform who might be threatening real lives as a result of these views being published on the channel.
Yeah. The strike, actually, let's look back at the strike itself. It was actually revealed on the same day as Sky launched a new free-to-air channel, Sky News Regional. It was across regional Australia, in fact. And the channel, it carries all the Sky After Dark commentators, including Andrew Walt, Peter Credlin, and Jones, as well as new 3-hour breakfast show. Now, videos that did not violate policies and were posted before Thursday are still online. 3 strikes in the same 90-day period will result in a channel being permanently removed from YouTube. But according to a statement from a YouTube spokesperson, they told news media that we have clear and established COVID-19 medical misinformation policies based on local and global health authority guidance to prevent the spread of COVID-19 misinformation that could cause real-world harm. So we apply our policies equally for everyone, regardless of uploader. And in accordance with these policies and our long-standing strike system, removed videos from and issued a strike to Sky News Australia's channel. Specifically, we don't allow content that denies the existence of COVID-19 or that encourages people to use, for example, hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin to treat or prevent the virus. We do not allow for videos that have sufficient countervailing context, which the violative videos did not provide. Now, YouTube's decisive action is in stark contrast to the response from local media regulators. Neither the Australian Communications and Media Authority nor the subscription television body ASTRA took any action when informed of Jones' COVID broadcast on Monday.
Yeah, and responding to the YouTube statement, Sky News Australia said it, quote, expressly rejects claims that any hosts ever denied the existence of COVID-19, saying, quote, no such videos were ever published or removed. And they also said we support broad discussion and debate on a wide range of topics and perspectives, which is vital to any democracy, and said they take their commitment to meeting editorial and community expectations very seriously. Sky News Australia's YouTube channel has been a juggernaut, going from 70,000 subscribers to 1.85 million within just 2 years. They've got more subscribers than ABC News or any other local media company in Australia, and we'll keep an eye on the discussion surrounding YouTube's decision and the implications of big tech suspending major media platforms and much more. Stay tuned to Pulse 95. Up next, we'll talk about Zoom's settling a lawsuit worth tens of millions of dollars. What's that all about? Stay tuned to Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
The Morning Majlis, talking the stories that are shaping headlines. This is Pulse 95.
Well, as the number of coronavirus cases in Iraq continues to climb, patients they actually may be turned away from hospitals, according to Iraq's Ministry of Health. What they're saying, it's been overwhelmed, the number of patients that they're having in Iraq. And I actually have family members who live still in Iraq, and they're telling me about the situation. And there, a lot of people, sadly, they're not really surviving. Once they're being hit with the coronavirus, a lot of them, even young people, they have been either their health has deteriorated after after the infection has gone away, or some of them they could not make it. A lot of people are not making it in Iraq after they're being hit with the coronavirus. And so the situation is really bad. The variant that they have over there, it's very dangerous. The hospitals now, they cannot accommodate all the patients. Now, according to the spokesperson, Dr. Saif al-Badr, from Iraq's Ministry of Health, he's saying that currently all these specialist COVID-19 units are full across all provinces in the country of Iraq. So if the number of cases they continue to rise, well, we will be unable to receive any more patients. An acting Minister of Health, Hani Al-Aqabi, also said on Friday that oxygen supplies, they were also low. He said that oxygen labs are incapable of meeting demand as cases continue to rise. So he's urging people to be immunized against the virus and abide by safety precautions. I read somewhere that only 1% or something like that, like 2% of the population in Iraq so far have been inoculated only. And they have the Pfizer also available only, the Pfizer vaccine available, I believe. That's the common vaccine that they have over there. And they don't have much supply of it either. So it's not the best of all situations in Iraq as we speak. Al-Badr also said that Iraq's decades-long political and economic strife had contributed to the collapse of the country's healthcare system as well. And he also blamed misinformation spread on Iraqi television for encouraging people to shun the wearing of face masks and maintain a social distance. Because when you go to Iraq, I've been to Iraq actually, I believe it was the beginning of this year. I was there at the beginning of this year, and yes, a lot of people, not a lot of people abide by those rules. It's not mandatory to wear face masks. Yes, when you go into malls, that's when they tell you, like, you got to wear a face mask, and there are security guards, running after you and telling you wear your mask. But when you're in the street, not many people stop you to tell you wear a mask if you're not wearing one. Social distancing is not really taken into consideration much over there. So yeah, it's not the best of all situations. That's why the infections are on the up over there, and the healthcare system, it's collapsed.
Yeah,
that's all I can say.
Very, very difficult situation, and even as something that's emblematic of this, the two huge fires that ripped through COVID-19 hospital wards in April and mid-July killed more than 120 people in Iraq, sparking anger and defiance among people who blamed corruption for a failing healthcare system. There are many things to untangle here, one being that, according to Iraqi health authorities, much of the 40 million strong population is skeptical of vaccines. It's even not too clear how many of those who had been already inoculated in the country had received the 2 jabs that they need. And as you had rightly stated, Rania, there's a lot of reluctance as well to follow basic precautions like the wearing of masks and the prevention of mass gatherings. We've seen, for instance, a lot of people getting together during the Eid al-Adha, health authorities blaming a spike in cases on those mishaps. And there's definitely that misinformation campaign that had pretty much plagued people's minds prior to the rollout of vaccines, which had made compliance very, very difficult.
Yeah, and it's a deadly situation over there. The people who have, as I said, who have been infected with the coronavirus, even the people who have recovered from the coronavirus, they're still suffering from a lot of symptoms, post-infection symptoms. They're still there. Iraq has recorded, as of yesterday, more than 9,000 new coronavirus infections. We're talking about a country with 40 million people. 9,000 per day, over 9,000 cases of coronavirus per day, 77 deaths. This is just what's been reported. So imagine what's not been reported. So it's very bad, and they're warning of a third wave of the pandemic hitting the country. But the good news is that the Iraqi Ministry of Health, they have announced the arrival of more than 570,000 doses of the Pfizer vaccine yesterday. The vaccines, they said it should be distributed among health departments in Baghdad and other provinces as well. But as I said earlier, less than 2% of the country's 40 million population, they have received at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. That's nothing.
Yeah, it certainly is.
It's really sad.
Definitely is. And we'll have to see how this fares as well now that the inoculation campaign is in full swing. Will the health authorities and Iraqi media succeed at convincing the public to change their preconceptions about the efficacy of vaccines and to start complying more? We'll continue reporting on those developments, the state of COVID-19 here in the MENA region. Up next, we'll be talking about energy developments turning desert air into water in the United Arab Emirates. What is that all about? Stay tuned for that, but here's Sunkissed by Kai Dreams.
If you liked this episode of the Morning Majlis, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.